Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Wednesday night, the fundamentals to gain inner peace, with your host, Coach Menachem Bernfeld. We're up to number 63, Baruch Hashem. And for the recordings are available, menachembernfeld.com, so you can catch up and come along with us on this journey. Might be the first time you're hearing about these Wednesday night classes. So here we are. Tonight, very exciting. We have a sponsor. So I would like to thank our sponsors. Tonight's sponsor is OK Clarity, which many of you have heard. It's a Jewish platform that has therapists, psychiatrists, coaches, dietitians, whoever feels, if you feel you need some help on this journey, to talk to somebody, a professional, they have the resources. You can go check it out on okclarity.com. And if you want to sponsor a Wednesday night, you can always send me an email, coachmenachem@gmail.com, for a schus, for a shidduch, or maybe your niece's birthday party. Whatever comes up, you can send me an email, coachmenachem@gmail.com. So the past few weeks, we've discussed different areas of self-care. And tonight, we're going to go on to spiritual self-care. It's an interesting topic, and sometimes 20 minutes might not be enough, but we'll do whatever we can. So let's get started. Like we always do, let's get grounded, take a deep breath, and come into the room. Become aware of where you are, physically, emotionally, mentally, how you feel, what your day looked like. And go inwards, take a deep breath, see how you feel, how your body feels, any tension, any stress. Take a deep breath, let your shoulders fall. If you don't have time during the week to do some relaxation techniques, at least you can do it now. Take some time off. Hopefully it's quiet where you are, and you can take off this few minutes for yourself. Any tension, take a deep breath and let it all out. Beautiful. Okay, so we discussed physical self-care, different ideas, exercise, sleeping, drinking enough, whatever your physical body needs. We discussed psychological or mental ideas, talking to friends, setting boundaries, knowing what you could do, what you can't, what works for you. And last week we discussed emotional, to understand what emotions are. And for that, you have to listen to a lot of recordings from before, what we discuss over here, to understand the inner peace that we're looking for. A lot of it is that emotional peace. Why is it so important? We all have feelings. We all have sometimes stress or whatever it is. And if you don't feel it, so you might be saying, no, I don't have it, but we all do. So you might be shut down. And the reason why would I want to open that up? Why would I want to feel the emotions? Because that's the only way we're alive. That's the only way we're living, even though sometimes there are negative emotions. But you want to be alive, not shut down. And there's probably a reason why people are shut down. You can try to do the work by yourself, journaling, becoming aware of your feelings, stopping and just feeling. And if it's too hard, to find someone who can help you. So that's the emotional. And tonight we're going to go into the spiritual self-care. So the question is, what does spirituality mean? how would you define spiritual? So the truth is, human beings, even if you're not religious, any human being, you can talk to me and you're here as a human, are spiritual beings. And that really it doesn't have to do with religious. We as religious Yidden, our spirituality is based around our religion. But to understand what does spirituality mean, you can be spiritual even if you're not religious. So let's understand what does spiritual mean. Dr. Tversky, in his book, Addictive Thinking, he discusses spirituality and spiritual emptiness. And he discusses over there that sometimes a person feels like he's missing something, very hard to pinpoint what it is. And many times people get addicted to it. Could be eating, drinking, or whatever it is, because they want to fill up that hole that they feel they're empty. And to understand that sometimes the emptiness can be spiritual feeling. So he says almost every human disease can be found by animals, but there's very little evidence of an animal developing to develop addictive diseases like overeating, drinking. They don't find it by animals, only by humans. So the question is why? Why do you only find it by humans and not by animals? So he says animals only have that physical urge. It's more like an instinct. They have the urge, the desire, but humans, they crave spiritual fulfillment as well. There's another piece that us human beings, we need that spiritual fulfillment. So sometimes if you feel something missing, like we're discussing over here, to find that inner peace. And we need to become aware of the spiritual side if we want to be at peace. So self-care for the spiritual side is very important. So in general, how would I say, what would you call spiritual? In general, it refers to a sense of connecting to something that's greater than yourself. A connection to something that you can't see. It's out there. It's an idea. It's something bigger. Like we know, we're connected to Hashem, but it's something that you close your eyes. It's not the world that you live in. It's not the physical world. Something deeper, something greater. To understand some ideas is, he mentions it in the book, Rabbi Tversky, to learn from experience is something that spiritual beings do. If something happens, so you could say, next time I'll do it different. Animals usually don't do that. To contemplate the purpose of existence, you could think, what am I looking for? What's this all about? That's a spiritual thing. To delay gratification, you're going to wait, even though you want to feel good now, but you'll wait. You can wait 10 minutes, 15 minutes to eat, or whatever it is. You can make that decision. So it's really to sit down and make a decision. I don't think animals do that. They probably can't stop, close their eyes, take a deep breath, and say, let me see, what do I want? So that is spiritual. Davening is something you're closing your eyes, or if you're not closing your eyes, you're talking to something out of you. You don't even see it. And if you're in the middle of davening and you realize that you're not thinking what you're saying, that's another spiritual act, to stop and say, wait a second, where am I? What am I doing? And start thinking. Even though you're in the middle, okay, let me start focusing now. That's a spiritual skill. So these are all spiritual ideas. Doing chesed That's a decision that we make, helping others, make others feel good. Even though animals might also make others feel good, taking care of their kids. But the question is, how much of it is a decision? And how much of it is it an instinct? Whatever they do, this is what they do. So that's a little bit an idea of what we're looking for. What's that spiritual side? Something out of us that we can connect to something deeper. And the truth is, the whole self-care idea, the whole inner peace, what in the world is that? You're deciding to see how you feel. What do I want? What can I do? All of that is connecting to something that's not physical. It's on the spiritual side. So I think I need to mention, very important, that there are many of us that we do things on the outside. We daven, we learn, we do mitzvahs, you can sit in the sukkah, eat matzah. We do everything that we need to do, which is beautiful. However, we could still be spiritually disconnected. Now the question is, why is that, and how is that possible? So I don't know if you realize that I don't talk too much about Hashem. This is number 63, if you're with us on this journey. Most of us grew up from, and we know logic, the logic that everything that Hashem does is good, and we do everything for Hashem. So many of us, I don't know, your backgrounds from where you are, but talking about someone like me, FFBs, grew up with all the ideas, great ideas, and we have to thank our parents for that, Baruch Hashem. But now to see, where am I? Am I connected? Or am I doing it because I want to do it? That's a very important piece. But especially talking about emotions, before we become connected to Hashem, it's very important to become connected to yourself. To know, who am I? Very basic need. What do I want? What do I feel? Because if we are missing that piece and we just do, and we're human doings, after a while we can be missing that spiritual side, even though from the outside doing everything right. And it's amazing and it looks beautiful. But then you could be walking around saying, but there's something missing. I don't know what it is. I'm doing everything right. Why do I feel empty? Why do I feel there's something missing if I'm doing everything right? And again, it could be the emotional parts, physical parts. That's why you have to be aware of, what do I need? And it could be the spiritual part is missing, to become aware, yes, I'm doing everything right, but am I connected? Do I ever close my eyes and talk to Hashem? I'm not talking about Shemoneh Esrei. Many people do Shemoneh Esrei 3 times a day. Amazing. But you're not connected. Doesn't mean that you're connected. So that's the reason why when I'm talking about healing, talking about emotions, it's first becoming aware of yourself before Hashem. And then we can try to figure out to connect to Hashem. And that takes us to the next piece, which we've discussed in the past. What's your relationship with Hashem? When you do sit down and meet Hashem, how does that feel? So for many people, they could have a negative image. They could think Hashem doesn't like me. Hashem is not happy with me. And when you connect to Hashem, you feel like, I don't want to stay there for too long. Let me just finish this and go on. So let me ask you a question. How does a person really know what Hashem thinks about him? And we've asked it in the past. Usually, you're never going to know, but it's usually the way you think about yourself. That's how you feel Hashem thinks about you. That could be very deep. And if you sit down and meet Hashem, you can journal and see how you feel. What does Hashem think about you? And the thoughts that you think about yourself come up, and you might not like it. So that's why, before talking about connecting to Hashem, we have to talk about that healing process of connecting to yourself. Yes, you're not perfect. I know that. Yes, we make mistakes. I know that. And you have to realize that too. You're human. And it's okay. And it's possible to love yourself even though you mess up once in a while. It's okay. Even though you want to be in a better place, you don't feel like you're in the good place where you are, you want to do more, you want to be much better, and you're not happy with yourself. That's okay. And slowly, with that healing process that we've done in the past, to be able to just be in the moment with yourself, with whatever comes up. You might see some flaws you don't like, and be there. And hold yourself and hug yourself in the moment. If a person can't do that, then his relationship with Hashem is going to be a little bit distorted and based on his thoughts. So even if I'll come and tell you that, let me tell you a secret, Hashem loves you. No matter what, even that thing that you're thinking and nobody knows, and Hashem does know, Hashem still loves you. You might not accept it because you'll say, yes, you don't know me, but Hashem knows me and I know myself. So I'm not sure if Hashem loves me. So this is in 2 minutes to understand the connection of you and Hashem. How do I feel when I meet Hashem? How do I feel? Basically, usually the way you feel about yourself. And if you don't like that situation of standing in front of Hashem, of talking to Hashem, of connecting to Hashem, of being that spiritual being, connected, whatever it is, you need to do the healing first and connect to yourself before you go to Hashem. So that's the reason why sometimes on the healing process, I don't mention a lot about Hashem, because about Hashem we know already and we might be doing the right thing. But now we have to stop and see, how do I feel about myself? Another way to look at how you look at Hashem, how you feel about Hashem, is sometimes it could be somebody that you look up to in your life. Could be parents, grandparents, maybe a Rosh Hashiva. That's the image sometimes we get from Hashem. Somebody who, if the Rosh Hashiva is a loving person and he can accept and talk and accept you wherever you are, any level that you are. So you look up, you say, wow, he represents, Kiddush Hashem, he represents what Hashem wants. So I can see Hashem is probably much bigger, but that's the picture I get. Many people have a negative picture of Hashem. Maybe he's out there with a stick. He wants to catch me, and now he got me again, and he got me again, and he's always getting me. Another negative. And you're focusing on the negative. And then obviously you don't want to be connected, not to yourself and not to the spiritual side, to Hashem. So it's important to be aware of that. When you want to say something and you decide, you know what, I won't say it. That's a spiritual act. You made a decision. So talking about spiritual self-care, to take care of yourself spiritually. So what are some ideas that we can do that could help us to build up, to help us with our self-care on the spiritual side? So here are a few ideas. Number one, davening. And I would say it doesn't have to be davening 3 times a day. Close your eyes and just pray to something, to Hashem. That's a spiritual, if you need it, something's happening, you need a physic, you need help. Say, Hashem, please help me. That's it. You say those words, you're connecting, and that is building up that spiritual side in you that we all need. And eventually, we can do it by Shemana Esrei, but we have to find those small moments. It builds up that spiritual side, which we can't fill it up with other things. Sleeping will help you with your sleep. Eating will help you when you're hungry. But if you have that feeling, if you're not aware of what that feeling is, it might be a spiritual feeling that you're missing something, and you need to start filling yourself up with spiritual ideas to be connected. And you might have to start from the beginning, from just a word. Close your eyes, even taking care of yourself physically is already taking care of yourself spiritually, because you're doing that self-care act, a spiritual act that animals can't do. You're human, you're taking care of yourself, and eventually you connect. You connect with Hashem. Being mindful, being in the present moment, whether it's taking 5 minutes off, being there for yourself, that's a spiritual act, seeing what you need. Taking walks in nature is another idea. You can start seeing the world from a spiritual side. And for us, Eden, we know that Hashem, this is what Hashem does, and this is what Hashem did. Look around, and slowly, the Rambam says, if you want to see Hashem, look at the nature. Now, when I was young, I didn't understand the Rambam, because I used to look at nature and I didn't see Hashem. Interesting, I didn't see him. But you have to have that, you have to slow down and start seeing how things work. Take a deep breath and say, wow, this doesn't happen by itself. And slowly you start seeing Hashem. Doing chesed. So, making the decision, you want to help others. You want to make others feel good. To have compassion. That's spiritual. To be connected to others. That's spiritual. Now, again, it should be your choice. To do chesed all day might take away from self-care, your physical self-care or emotional self-care. You have to know what you could do and what you can't do. But doing some acts of services, helping others, does make you feel better. And the last one is to start learning about these ideas, learning spiritual, whether it's a sefer, something easy. It could be davening. You want to know what davening is all about. A few minutes a day, look inside. You don't have to finish anything, but you want to be connected. You want to be spiritually connected, to fill up that piece. You find something that talks to you. It could be in English, a few minutes a day. Spend a few minutes and you'll feel connected to who you are, to what you're doing, to Hashem, and eventually it builds. You can start with very small, every day for 2 minutes. Read something, whatever it is, whatever works. And last for tonight is the idea that there is research out there that for those who are connected spiritually, they have less, when they have a hard time, going through a hard time, they can connect to something, whether it's saying, Hashem, please help me. And when things work out, they feel much better. So they're likely to experience depression less than others. And again, it's research, I don't know how much, but there is the idea that when a person is connected to something outside of himself, that means he knows that not everything is up to me. I can do my ishtadlus, I can do what I can, but then what's going to happen, I don't know. And we know that it's up to Hashem, and we have the tachan. So it does help a person to be more relaxed. And when things don't work out, we could be aware that we don't like it, because I would be used to running right away to whatever Hashem does is good, and that's true. But you're not aware that you're let down, that emotional feeling that you don't like if it didn't work out. So allow yourself to feel if something didn't work out, and breathe and feel it, even though you don't like it. And then you can say, Hashem, I know you're in charge. This is probably for the good. Please help me see it, or help me get out of it, help me figure this out. But you're connected to something outside of you, So it's a little bit easier. But if you're the one who is in charge, everything's up to you, and whatever you do is only you, then when things don't work out, you're in trouble. And that's where depression can kick in. It helps for depression, it helps to build a sense of meaning and fulfillment, to feel, what am I doing on this world? And it has, in generally, a better outlook in life. So that sounds very positive. I think we're all looking for that. So that's the spiritual side. And that's it for tonight. I hope you'll be able to figure out, to understand a little bit of what does spiritual mean. Because we can only fill it up if we understand it. To be able to take care of ourselves spiritually, spending a few minutes a day with ourselves, self-care and other areas, physical, emotional, that's also spiritual, just by taking care of yourself. And finding one or two things that helps you connect to your spiritual side, whether it's learning a few minutes, being connected, doing chesed, just taking a walk, so that you can fill up that spiritual needs. And hopefully with that, you can feel a little bit more of that inner peace that we're looking for. So thank you very much for joining tonight. And thank yourself for being here, for taking some time, for giving yourself permission. Take some time off to take care of yourself, of what you need, so that you can go on and do what you need to do. So that's it for tonight. And thank you again for our sponsor, Oka Clarity. It's online and they have therapists there. You can connect to them probably on Zoom. So wherever you are, there's always a way you can connect to people that you're looking for. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Any feedback is welcome. CoachMenachem@gmail.com. We'll see you next week. And hopefully next week we'll continue with the last two of the self-care, whether it's at work, and we'll go from there. Thank you, and have a good night, and have a good week.